Hi, how you doing? You know that What If Marvel show that kinda sucked? Yeah, we're doing that, but My Little Pony. Hopefully, it won't suck. I always thought What If was an interesting idea for any franchise, but Marvel's writing was so awful they managed to mess it up. There were quite a few possible What If scenarios I could pick that would change a lot in the My Little Pony timeline. I mean, realistically, changing anything could domino effect into the world blowing up, but, I mean, who'd watch a video where I pondered the question, what if Twilight didn't order a daffodil and daisy sandwich?
I would love a daffodil and daisy sandwich.
This idea is probably not original. Someone's probably done it before, but hopefully they haven't done the same ones as me. Also, remember, these are all basically fan fiction I made up. I'm not objectively saying this is what would happen. No one could actually know that. And if you enjoy, consider liking and subscribing to see more from my channel, as we're nearly at 1,000 subscribers, which is so insane to me. I mean, I never imagined I'd get like 100, so... Anyway, I'll shut up. Now onto the actual video. What if Rainbow Dash was an Earth Pony? Obviously, the first thing that would stick out in this universe is the main six would never become friends, due to Dashi not doing her rain boom. But how would it go anyway? Because I mean, we all know that's going to happen, but let's elaborate a bit more. The only thing that's changed here is Rainbow Dash isn't a Pegasus. In this universe, Dashi would want nothing more than to be a Pegasus, and throughout her younger years, would try all kinds of things to try to fly. Stuff like jumping off a roof with cardboard wings, you know, all that kind of stuff we'd do as kids to try and fly, but to no avail. Eventually, she'd grow up and come to terms with how she couldn't fly and would never be able to. Since she's athletic, as shown in Full Weather Friends, she can keep pace with Applejack, who is a work pony, and she's obsessed with the Wonderbolts, she'd probably join the Canterlot Royal Guard. I don't know if mares can join the Royal Guard, but let's just say they can, for the sake of the story. She remains a Royal Guard until the day Nightmare Moon returns. And remember, in this universe, Twilight never became Celestia's student, so never came to Ponyville. Also, the main six didn't even know each other's existence, so there'd be no hope of them wielding the elements of harmony. So Celestia would have to again, as she did originally, against Luna. Since it was 1,000 years since Celestia last used the elements to defend Equestria, she'd probably be out of practice and also not as powerful as she was before. So it'd employ the help of the Royal Guard and any other ponies that'd help. Basically a war-type scenario, not unlike the one shown in the Season 5 finale with Sombra. As there are many less than good ponies that I'm sure Nightmare Moon could persuade to fight for her. I don't want to get too miserable, but it's definitely certain that many ponies would lose their lives in this war. Celestia would win, but it's a coin toss whether Dashi would survive, because in this timeline she's just a Royal Guard. But let's say she's just built different, so she does. Between Nightmare Moon and Discord, there's not many big events that would cause any trouble, especially in this universe. From that time, Equestria would just be trying to rebuild what been damaged, what they'd lost, that kind of thing. So when Discord came, they'd still be doing that. Even with the elements, Equestria would be in no position to deal with a creature as powerful as Discord. And remember, Discord hid the elements. Of course, he wouldn't hide them in the same place as he hid them in the library, because it was a place familiar to the main six. In this universe, he'd probably hide them somewhere in the Castle of Two Sisters, or maybe even in Canterlot Castle for Celestia. But Celestia wouldn't have time to go on a wild goose chase. She'd have to deal with the threat face on, and probably with the remaining forces that she had. It wouldn't be enough though, obviously, and they'd have to withdraw. Discord would, in this universe, end up taking over completely, and rule the land of Equestria with chaos for literally ever. Because, at least from my knowledge, I don't believe he can die from old age. If he can, then, I mean, I can at least say it'll be a while. Chrysalis wouldn't really have a hope of returning, as there'd be no hope or love left in Equestria for the changelings to feed off, only chaos. And I'm sure once he's already ruling Equestria, Discord wouldn't duo up with T-Rex, so yeah. This universe has a bad ending. That's how most universes will go, to be honest, since in the main one, most things went right. In alternate timelines, things can pretty much only go wrong. What if Twilight never became an Alicorn? As most people who are familiar with the show and its community will know, Twilight becoming an Alicorn was very controversial back in 2012 when Season 3 came out. It was kind of 50-50. Some people really liked it, and some people hated it. A bit of off-topic trivia, but the reason the change was originally made was because the show's contract only included a certain number of episodes, which is why Season 3 was so much shorter. The showrunners weren't sure whether the show was going to get renewed, so they decided to end it in a place where it had a final feeling, but was also able to continue, which is why Twilight became an Alicorn in the finale. What if the other 50% got their wish and Twilight was never Alicornated? In this timeline, everything is the same up until Season 3, Episode 13, where after helping her friends get the correct cutie marks back and singing a great song, Twilight would not become an Alicorn. Of course, in the main timeline, it was Celestia that turned Twilight into an Alicorn properly, or kinda guided her through it, since she knew from the first time she saw Twilight that she was gonna be an Alicorn. In this universe, Twilight is still Celestia's star pupil, but without the Alicorn buff. So naturally, this timeline carrying on from Season 3 would be different. Well, maybe not immediately. Although the Season 4 premiere is called Princess Twilight Sparkle, the actual events could still go down without her being a princess. Twilight and the main six would still be at the Summer Sun celebration in the Crystal Empire because, of course they would. Most of Equestria would be going, so they definitely would, being so close to Celestia and Luna. And as soon as they heard of Celestia and Luna's disappearance, they would try and get to the bottom of it. The obvious main difference would be Twilight wouldn't be balancing her princess duties and trying to get to the bottom of Celestia and Luna's disappearance. She'd just be doing the latter. So maybe the moral of the story would be slightly different, but the same thing would still go down, basically. The main six would still end up discovering the Tree of Harmony, giving it the elements, and being left with the box. This process would be slightly more difficult, probably, with the only princess in Equestria being Cadence, instead of Cadence and Twilight. So while they would get Celestia and Luna back in the end, it might take longer, as Equestria would be in more panic generally. The next somewhat big thing that would change is that the events of episode 15 wouldn't happen, as the only reason any of the fillies and foals were interested in Twilight and Twilight Time was because she was a princess. So those events wouldn't happen, and the fillies and foals wouldn't learn the very valuable friendship lesson, which would probably mess up their life catastrophically in the future, but I ain't paid enough to go in that depth. Now, obviously, the thing that's probably going through your head right now, it went through my head when I was first thinking about this video. What about Tyrek? Well, Tyrek would still return, as nothing about Twilight becoming an Alicorn influenced it, and he'd still recruit Discord. The difference would happen when he seeked out the princesses for the Alicorn magic. They wouldn't have a secret fourth princess to give their magic to, so he'd have to fight Tyrek then and there. And while it would be a long and close fight, Tyrek would eventually probably win the same way he won against Twilight. Maybe not specifically win, but there's nothing saying Tyrek couldn't suck the power out of them immediately the second he goes in the door, or while fighting them, he could be, absorbing power through the same way, so they'd be getting gradually weaker as they were fighting him. So Tyrek would end up with the Alicorn magic. He wouldn't kill the princesses after beating them, probably imprison them like he did the main six after taking their magic. So in this universe, Tyrek speedruns his goal and still betrays Discord. Being that large and powerful in Cancelot, he'd be able to absorb the magic of pretty much every unicorn there, and would become more powerful than he'd ever become in the Kellan timeline. Despite Twilight not being an Alicorn, once she heard about Tyrek from the princesses, her and the main six would go straight to the Tree of Harmony in search of some way to defeat him. Since it was the last place they ever saw the elements, they knew it would hold the answers to how to defeat Tyrek. They just didn't know where they'd be. Discord would still join them, and they'd have no knowledge of his betrayal of their trust, because Tyrek literally never interacted with Twilight, because he had no reason to. Twilight is basically just a normal unicorn to him. There's no glass pane of her in Cancelot Castle showing her as an Alicorn. So when Discord joined them to try and figure out how to open the box, they would just assume he was trying to help for the sake of helping, because he's a nice guy. They would eventually figure out how to open the box and become all powered up, but it'd probably be too late. Tyrek had been absorbing magic from all over Equestria and was becoming stronger and stronger. He was much stronger than his show appearance. So, though the main six would try, they would be unsuccessful in taking him down.
That's just lazy writing.
Yeah, what if it is? I need to fit 2 more what ifs into this video and I don't want it being an hour long. Slight exaggeration. Once defeating the main six, Tyrek would literally have nothing standing in his way and would rule over Equestria after absorbing all of its magic. Oh, well that one didn't end well either. Well, hopefully the next one will be more optimistic. I can't promise anything though. What if Nightmare Moon never returned? This is the first one that isn't changing an aspect of the main six directly, or to do with wings for that matter. It's affecting something that happens at the very start of the story, so has potential to change a lot. And I think what everyone immediately thinks is that if Nightmare Moon never returned, we'd never get this meme.
Haha! The fun has been doubled!
I mean, that's by far the most serious and deep consequence from this change, but I guess I'm obligated to talk about the other stuff. So, at that turning point on the 1000th summer of the Summer Sun celebration, instead of Twilight being right and every pony running away, the sun rises, as it had literally 1,000 times before, and all the ponies celebrated. Without Nightmare Moon, the rest of the main six would have no reason to follow Twilight off into the forest, as she wouldn't go. The main six are only a thing because of the first quest they had defeating Nightmare Moon. They bonded with each other and used the elements for the first time. Without that experience, they would probably, if not friends, be at least friendly with each other, but not near the level that they would be in the main timeline. Episodes like Ticketmaster simply would not happen. Twilight at this point would have pretty much zero connection to the would-be main six, so it wouldn't go to them with a ticket for any means. And sadly, she wouldn't be able to eat the Daffodil and Daisy sandwich.
I would love a Daffodil and Daisy sandwich.
I know. It's an absolute tragedy. Basically, a lot of the things that would have helped increase their friendship wouldn't happen, so a kind of domino effect into them becoming less and less likely to become friends. They'd all know each other on some level, as the main five, you could call them, did before Twilight. Actually, one thing I completely forgot to address, Twilight would probably go back to Canterlot, basically making it impossible for the main six to be a thing. Damn. If Twilight returned to Canterlot, never made friends properly, and carried on her life, she'd be somewhat of a moon dancer type character. So what I meant to say before is the main six minus Twilight would be friendly and aware of each other, while Twilight would be in Canterlot friendless. Basically, it would be as if nothing happened, which actually it didn't. The next danger to Equestria would be Discord, because as I said before, nothing about the main six being friends had a way in on him coming back, so he'd still return. And again, I may be assuming something that isn't true here, but I don't think Celestia is strong enough to defeat Discord solo. Previously, she had Luna's help, and after it was the main six who banished Discord and, turned him back to stone. Twilight would immediately rush to Canterlot to face him with Celestia once Celestia informed Twilight of his return. But Twilight wouldn't have the experiences she would have gotten with the main six, like defeating Nightmare Moon, for instance, so there wouldn't be that much she could do to help Celestia. She wasn't as versed as she was in the main timeline. And Discord would overpower them and stake his claim to Equestria. I'm not 100% sure how the elements work, but as I said, Celestia isn't powerful enough to take on Discord alone with them. And Twilight and Celestia don't have the kind of friendship that the main six have in the canon timeline, so the elements wouldn't work in the same way. If that doesn't make sense, while yes, if you have a mentor that you are close to, you'll respect them and probably consider them a friendly figure, they wouldn't be a friend per se, as they're normally superior to you and you'll be on a different level. It's like saying you're friends with your parents. It's not the same level as like a friendship that you will have. This is the second timeline that old Discord is driven into chaos then. Again, I'm not sure if Celestia can canonically return Discord to stone on her own, but for the sake of this, what if I'm going to say she can't? What if the library wasn't destroyed by Tyrek? This is an interesting one, because if the library wasn't destroyed by Tyrek, there would be no reason for Twilight's Castle of Friendship to exist. Therefore meaning there wouldn't be a QE map, so the main six wouldn't meet Starlight and visit her village, Starlight wouldn't become Twilight's student, and etc. Basically, every event after Season 4 is kind of pivotal on the Castle of Friendship existing. At this point in the story, Twilight would need a castle anyway. The library wouldn't suffice. Celestia and Luna have Canterlot Castle, Cadence has the Crystal Palace, and without her castle teleporting out of nowhere, Twilight would probably carry on restoring the Castle of Two Sisters until it was in proper condition, and then, with Celestia and Luna's permission, turn it into the Castle of Friendship. Now, I believe that the QT map is something that's connected to Twilight in the main six, so once they've finished restoring and renovating the Castle of Two Sisters, the QT map would appear, and the events of the QT map would happen. Now, you could say that's me being lazy, but without her castle appearing out of thin air, Twilight would have to go to the Castle of Two Sisters and turn that into a castle. Like, there's no other castle she could go to. And I at least believe that the Q map is something that's connected to Twilight in the main 6. So once Twilight officially has a castle, no matter where it is, the Q2 map would appear once it's officially declared as the Castle of Friendship, as this castle would be once it was all done up. Now, I'll admit, this one wasn't as in-depth as I initially hoped it would be, but no other ideas were coming to my mind. If you have a theory of what would happen if the library wasn't destroyed, then please do put it in the comments. I'd be happy to read it and possibly feature it in a follow-up video that I make on What If, as it'll probably be better than mine. Well, that does it for this installment of Hope you enjoyed it. I definitely plan to make What If somewhat of a recurring thing on my channel, so hopefully the others will be more polished than this one. I'm still kind of working out exactly how I want to structure and write these, so I do apologise for the bad writing and stuff in parts. Rainbow Rock's video will hopefully be coming out later this week or next weekend, but until then, thanks for watching. I've been Monodash, and I'll see you sometime soon.
I would love a daffodil and daisy sandwich.